This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, I'm not seeing. Okay, I can come from here. Yeah, hope is there in this only Python material. So classes. Okay, fine. Here we are here. The last session I was discussing about this topic. Yeah, here somewhere here. Parameter passing in classes somewhere. I was talking somewhere here. 1 minute, guys. Okay, fine. Where I missed it. Not sure in which document I have that. Okay, fine, no issues. Somewhere I think it's missing. Maybe probably I didn't. So anyhow, we have done something related to collections in the last class, and then passing that objects to a collection, and then what else we have done is, and also what we have done is mm, iterating it, and also we have seen how to do the same with the map concept. We have seen it. I think I didn't save it. Probably that is what I am seeing here. We can get it from the. I think we are doing this post processing. This person concept, I hope. Uh, I don't exactly remember, but we'll continue to the next one. This is another use case like object object interaction, how it works here. This is not object, not a process, it's simple program issues. Next topic. Okay, we'll go to the next one. Hope we have finished parameter passing in classes. Next one is static variables and functions. What is it? What is it in Python? Okay. What is the static variable in this thing in Python? Let me use PyCharm as well. Do you guys have PyCharm? Yeah, yeah. All of you have PyCharm? Okay. Others, what about others? Naresh have Python. What about others? Okay. So I hope I do have PyCharm. Let us try some programs in PyCharm as well, because that is one of the most useful IDE in the real time. So this is called PyCharm. and uh, we have so many. I think I have imported workspace itself. This is my workspace, but I'll create a new project. I don't want to use this. Seems like there is so much here. Okay, I'll new project and then give some name here for the project. I give it as a weekend project. Okay, because we are doing weekend sessions. So then say and the interpreter, you can choose interpreter here. It's by default picking up 3.7, and it is coming from Conda. There are other environments, but we can choose from any one of these, not an issue. Virtual environment is also fine. That comes from by default your Python compiler. You can see that. It's okay, fine. Anyone is fine for this, not an issue. Uh, Existing interpreter. Do we have any such thing there? No, we don't have existing. Okay, just say create here. Say create. And it is asking, like, projects can be either opened in the new window or replace the project in the existing window or be attached to the already open projects. How would you like to open the project? I would like to attach. Let me see, because that is what I do in Eclipse usually, so that all other things might be in the same this thing. It's creating a project. Just a minute. I'm applying some default there. You can see, right, how to create that. Anybody has issues with this? Just tell me. You can still run the same program in idle as well. Ideally, same thing. You can try it in idle. Got it right? Just a minute. Still in the creating mode. Still, what we can do is we can discuss the topic until it finishes that. Now I think it's finished. Okay. And now we can see here now that that's it. So this is our project and what we can do now. No issues. So new Python file. Just a minute. New. Choose Python file. Give some name for that. We are working with classes and objects. You can say just giving it as OOP. Okay. The file is created here. Can you see this now? Just to see whether this is working or not. Just out of my this thing. Okay, later on we can type it. So that is it. Now you can run it. Right click. Perfect. It's working. No issues. Also, just need a bit of better font. I'm seeing here the font is too little. I want little bigger font. Bigger font. Okay. I'm increasing it to some 18. Okay. Like now it's a little bigger, right? Right. Now let's talk about the next topic, that is this one: static variables and functions. What is it? What is a static variable and function? You know, right? How to declare a class in Scala? We have discussed many examples for that. So, and we have discussed about instance variables, how it should be, how instance variables should be declared, how instance methods must be declared. We have discussed all that, isn't it? So, if it is a static variable declared inside a class and outside function is static or class variables. you know, here when you look at a small example, I'll just take a small example, some class A, or you can say anything of your choice, class test colon. I just declare a variable here, okay, and you know the scope here now. This is just inside class, and then I take a method m1 colon. It is a instance method, you know that. This method is what? It is an instance method. This variable is not instance. What is this? This is actually, what is it? Static or a class variable. I told you sometime back. If variable is instance, it has to be declared inside a method, instance method, and that too, those variables, instance variables, has to be declared with the self keyword. You remember, right? That's how we should declare instance variables. But if it is inside class, outside method, these are static variables. We can just think them as a static variables. But there is no static keyword here. Like in Java, we don't have static keyword. We just, this depends on scope. We say that what is it? That's all. Depend on the place where we declare, or the scope where we declare. Based on that, we talk about it, like, whether it is static or instance. So no doubt this is a static. Got it, right? This is a static variable. And this, see the scope here, right? Next one. That's it. That is one thing you can see here. Declared inside a class and outside a function. It is a static or class variable. And the point is, when you talk about static variables, you know what happens here? We have just only one copy. What is it? Only one copy of memory is allocated for static variables, and it is shared by all objects. It's like this. So I'll just show you. If it is a static variable, just you have one copy like this. Something like A might have 10, might have a one copy. This one copy is shared by all other objects. Suppose I have objects here, 1, 2, right? 3. In this way, I might have n number of objects. Okay. So if you see here, this one copy of static member, it is shared by all the other objects. Okay. That's what happens with static members. You get this point? To remember it quickly, we can discuss one thing. It's like a teacher in a class. There might be 50 students in a class, but one teacher. That 50 students will share all this, share all the 50 students will share this one teacher. And teacher is static here. It's like of class variables, whereas the students are instance members. You got it right. And all the students share this one particular static. You get this point. Another important thing is this static variables are not part of object. They are part of class. If it is instance member, instance variable, which is declared with self, we call it by creating object. Whereas if it is static, we don't call them by creating object. We can call them directly using class name. How do we call them? We can call them directly using class name. This is another important point. It is not part of object, but part of class. So we can access them directly using class name. The syntax look like this: class name dot value. Something like this, a dot x. Suppose if you look at this program, I don't need even instance method here. Say this. You can go down and simply you can just write a print statement. Print off. You can say test.a. You don't need any object. Did you see this? I didn't create object for test class, but I just directly try to access it. Can you see that? I'm just accessing that variable a outside the class by using that class name. If you see here, test.a. Now right click it and then say run here. You got that. Suppose you declare an instance variable. Now you see here def sum m1. Okay. And then you say self dot a equal to 10. This is then our self dot x equal to 10. Now, one minute. Now you try to call this x directly. You try to call it like this, something like print of say test dot x. You try to do like this. X is instance. What I'm doing now, I'm trying to call it directly without object. Let us see what happens. Let's run this. Okay, run over. See, you can see here immediately there is an error. Type object test has no attribute x. Why? X is instance. And that is not the way how we call instance. We call instance by creating object. How do we create object? Something like t equal to test. And then what is that? And then you say t dot x. You can call it like this. Then I click run this. Okay. Okay, indentation error, not an issue. Okay, we'll take care of it. Is saying what is it? Sorry, I got it. Why you are getting this error again? You should call this method, right? How can I directly call it? First, I should call method t dot m1. Then that variable will be created. That is one thing. Then after that, you can call it like this. Now run it. I got 10, right? Can you see that? Maybe you can initialize 20 here, for instance. Just to show the difference, I took two different use cases here. One for class variable and one for instance variables. Got it right? Yes or no? One for class and one for instance. And you see the clear difference. If it is a class variable, I can access it directly without the object using this class name. But if it is instance, I have no other way. I have to call it only by creating an object. I should create an object and I have to call the method in which instance variables are declared. Then I can call the variable. Right? This is the difference. Correct? Will you agree or not? So this is the idea about static variables. A quick and simple example just to understand. Okay. You got it right? This is the concept of what? A static variable. You can just test it, sir. You can take a small example and test it. I'm keeping here. Please test it now. Then we'll talk about static methods. Just take a minute and test this code and see the differences. Once finished, just tell me. So did you test it, all of you? Anybody can confirm me? Yeah, guys, let's move to the next topic, static functions. There are big differences before I talk about static functions. Few differences are there here. One thing you need to understand about static variable is it is just only one copy shared by all objects. Simple. Let's talk in simple terms. One copy shared by all objects. Okay. Second thing, not part of object but part of class. We have proved it now. We didn't create any object to call static variable, but whereas we create object to call instance variables or instance methods. So that itself is a proof. It is not part of object but part of class. See, this concept is same for even in Java also, but here we don't use static keyword. There we use static keyword. That is the difference. Uh, but part of the class. Okay. And the third thing is we can call it directly using class name. Correct? We can call it directly using class name. Almost same rules are applicable for static method also. Directly using the class name. That is one more thing. And we have seen the examples. Okay. And anything else? These are the very important things. Now, when you talk about instance variables, what is it? We have seen with practical examples. When you declare a variable as instance, it's part of object. So first thing, it is part of object. And suppose you create 10 objects. Tell me one thing. Does this 10 objects have 10 instance variables or not? It is a separate copy for each object. A separate copy for each object. Means what is that? Instance variables are separate for every object. If I create 10 objects for one class, 10 instance variables will be there. 100 objects, 100 instance variables. 1000 objects, 1000 instance variables. I mean, if we have one instance variable, suppose if class has 3 instance variables, then every object has 3 copies. 100 into 3, how many will be there? 300 instance variables will be there. You get my point there? I have explained that with the diagram as well, if you remember. Maybe if you have any doubts on that, go back to the classes and object topic. Just check that analysis. You can see that. It is part of object, and every object has its own instance variables. That is one thing. Every object has its own instance variables. Okay. Second, next one. We should create object to call this instance members. So we should create an object to call instance members. First, we should call method, because without which it is not possible to call variable. Got it right? If mother exists, then this kid exists. Instance method is like a mother. Inside that, kid exists. That is variable. Got the point, right? So we should create object to call instance members. First, what is that we should call? Instance method. Then we can call members. So next one. And can we call them directly? No, we cannot call them directly using class name. Always we can call them only through either object or object reference. So we should call instance members through what? Through object or object reference. Most of the time it will be object reference. In very few cases it is object. And before going to talk about, anyhow, let me finish it. Then I'll talk about a quick topic called anonymous objects. What objects? Anonymous. We'll talk it at this here. Okay. This we'll talk about it here. Anonymous object. We'll talk here. Okay. First, we'll finish up all this. Got it right? You got an idea? So that's about the big differences between this one, instance variables and static variables. Okay, next one. Now static method, it's simple, it doesn't take much time. Static functions or static method. I told you while discussing functions, you remember, right? We have discussed a topic called decorators. You remember? We discussed a topic called decorators, and we declare we declare them with this, with the symbol at the rate. Do you remember that? Do you remember, sir? Okay, so that is what it is. Generally, in Python, static functions are declared by using a decorator called static. This is at static. Okay, what is decorator? Okay, decorator means it is a method which causes changes to a method, another method, or actual original method. Decorator is applied on some method, existing method. Without actually changing the method, we do some changes to that. I told you some mirror concept for that. In some movie, a hero wanted to touch a heroine, but she tells her he should not touch her physically, but he should be able to touch her. Then he will touch the mirror somewhere, some kind of example. So just to remember, I don't know whether it makes sense or not. So, but the point is, just to link the concept, I am just talking about this. Similarly, decorators are like that. Okay, you change the functionality of existing function without actually making a change in that function. We took so much of time there to talk about it. Yeah, more or less like annotation. Correct. More or like annotation concept in Java, if you are a Java guy. Okay, that's it, guys. So we use this concept is simple. I'm not talking about what is decorator, that's all. Okay. Again, same thing. Even static method is not part of object, but part of class. If it is an instance method, we should call it by creating object. But if it is static method, we can call it directly using class name. See here, same statements which we discussed for static variable, we apply for method. The difference is, if it is variable, it tells about the state of a object. If it is a method, it tells about the action of the object. Got it right? Or action of a class here. If it is static variable, it tells about the state of class. Static method, it tells about the action of class. Got it right? Instance variables talks about the state of object. Instance method talks about the action of object. Got this difference? It's like a class teacher and a student. The behavior of teacher is different, behavior of students is different. One student, if when I say a student, it might be applicable for universal, all the students in the world. Teacher means applicable for all teachers. Got it right? So that's how it is. We declare it static functions with the static method, and it is not part of object but part of class. So we access it directly using class. For example, you see here, we declare a static method like this, and these are declared inside a class only, sir. Don't think we declare outside class. If you declare outside class, it becomes normal function. But if you declare inside class, it becomes a method, just to differentiate between function and method. And we know, right? Python supports two types of styles, two types of coding here. One is a functional style as well as a OOP style. Got it right? And these static methods are declared inside a class. They are not declared outside class. You got it, or any question on this?
So with the object also we can access that a member and variable and the methods, right?
Which one?
Not only with the class name.
Yeah, you might do it. You might do it. See, I'm not sure in Python. This is possible in Java. As you raise this question, let's do one thing. Print off. Let me just prove it to you. This is reference t dot. Okay. Yes, you can see here. It is showing on object also. Is it showing an object here? Can you see here?
Yeah. Then it is a part of
Yes.
object also, right?
No. Not at all. That is actually, when you say that if it is part of object, the total meaning of static concept is modified. You got the point? You understand?
Okay.
It's not possible, Madhu. See, for some reason, the architecture of programming is that. Then if it is part of object, there is what is the point of having that static concept actually? Then it might be an instance. I don't need this differentiation, right? Do you understand my point?
Okay. Yeah.
See, there is something like this. Certain concepts they are meant to be we can do it in different ways, but definitely it will be warning when you are not doing it in a right way. Suppose you see here, let me just show you here. Okay, probably I don't know. It's showing some warning here. Let me just usually if it is Java, by now you would have seen a warning. You have to access a static variable in a static way. Even though you can access it through object, definitely Java will give you a warning. This is not what is that static way, and you are doing it in the other way. It is not correct. You get my point?
Yeah.
So that's it. Okay? So might be you might for some reasons it might be defined. It might have access through object, but it has to be
No,
called in which way?
why I'm asking, because as long as we access with the object, So any member, whether it is a variable or method, then we used to call it as a instance variable or method, right? That's what.
Okay. Hmm. But one thing, static variable can be shared by objects. See,
Yeah.
one thing is, even though it is not part of object, it can be shared by object. Maybe in that sense, maybe an object can have access to that. You got my point?
Okay.
In that sense, it might have object to that. But static variable or method, they don't belong to object. Proof, it's clearly proved here. Can you see here now? You remove this and you run it. You can invoke this, but you do it first instance method and instance variable. Is it possible? Tell me, Madhu.
No, it is not possible.
That's clearly, we are clearly seeing that it's clearly proved here. What is that? For static member, we don't need object, but for instance members, we need objects. But however, I told you one point here. What is that? If you see here about static variables and methods, what is it? One copy shared by all objects means what? Maybe it is of class. Still, objects can share it. Objects can have access to that. You get my point? Even though teacher
Yeah,
belongs to a class, okay, teacher belongs to a class. Still student can have access to him. No issue with that. You get my
yeah,
point?
yeah,
So see, that might be that is the reason why you are able to access a static variable through object, because objects can share that static members, but it doesn't mean that they are part of object. They are shared variables. They are common for all the objects. You get my point?
yeah,
The best example to remember is it's like a kiddie bank. Okay, it's like a hundi. Otherwise, anybody could put money in that, but hundi doesn't belong to you. Who it belongs to? Whom? To a temple, right? Or to a mosque or to a church. Correct? Same thing here.
yeah.
Static members are
Okay.
not part of object. One thing, object might have access to static members. Best example of hundi itself here are the bank.
Yeah.
So that hundi doesn't belong to us. But the point is, anybody can put money in that. Means we assume that we are objects there. Just to remember, I don't mean that it makes sense. It's not about making sense here, but just to remember the concept or understanding it in a better way.
Yeah.
Otherwise, there are situations here again. Might be as you raise the question, when should we go for static variables and when should we go for instance variables? Then, if something is common for all objects, is something common for all objects. Suppose a value is common, like pi value. Suppose you take it, you are doing you know, you are finding out this triangle or circle. You are dealing with certain kind of shapes here, and pi, the pi value is always 3.14, and it doesn't change from time to time. Suppose if you take radius might keep changing from object to object, but the pi value is same for all circles. You create 100 circle objects. For 100 circle objects, pi is same. In such cases, pi is declared as static. Why? Because if something is common for all objects, then we declare it as a static variable. Suppose if some value changes from object to object, radius might change from one circle object to another circle object. So we can declare it as instance variable. You get it?
Yeah.
Get my point here.
Yeah.
So there are situations where which should be used and when should be used. When should we use static variables? When something is common, and when something is just a same for all objects, which doesn't change from object to object. Such members we have to declare as static. Whereas if something changes from object to object, then we have to declare it as instance. That is one more clear difference here. You got it right?
Yeah.
And also here, this doesn't belong to object. One more thing, might be object can have access to that, but it doesn't belong to object. You got my point?
Yes.
So that's the thing. Might be you can have access to it. There is no problem wrong. There is nothing wrong in that. But as per the concept of static, might be if you look at static concept anywhere, here let's take it. Okay. Static variable.
Yeah, I understand that. I understand that actually. So the basically it's all memory management. If something is
Correct,
common
correct.
for all objects,
That
then
is
instead
exactly
of
see.
for that
That is
instance,
correct. So the point is these are all part of memory management only.
yeah,
Of what? Memory man. See, if you make variables as static, you are efficiently utilizing memory. You are not creating multiple copies so that it optimizes the utilization of memory. You got it right?
yep, yeah,
Whereas if you declare it as instance, even though it is necessary or not, it will create a copy for each every object.
yes. So for every object, for every instance, it will get created. So that is, yeah,
Like best example. Let me tell you one other best example to remember. Applying static concept is more or less arranging a buffet. Why in a buffet you go there and you choose whatever you want and you eat it. You don't waste anything there. And the other one, instance members, is like providing like a marriage this thing. What is that? If you are serving person to person, you keep everything, but they may not eat everything. They may what is that? Miss out or misuse some of the items. They may just leave it like that. Wastage of food. Got it?
yeah,
And as you say, what is that? It is an efficient memory management technique, no doubt about that. These are all part of memory management things. And you can see the definition here. Class are static variables. It's from Python. It's not from other languages. Are variables that belong to class and not to objects. You got this pointer?
yeah,
And I told you which are class are static variables, which are instance variables. If you declare inside class, outside method without any modifier, it is what static or class variables. You got it right?
yeah,
So that's it, Madhu. And if you see, Python approach is simple. It doesn't require static keyword, but in Java you might need it. You might C++ you might need it. C# you might need it. Got it right? But here you don't need it. And you see all variables which are assigned with a value in class declaration are class variables, and which are which inside methods are instance variables. Can you see that?
yeah,
And you can see so many scenarios, like you can go for Stack Overflow or you can see the official Python document. This is what it is all about, static and instance. You get my point?
yeah.
So got some clarity, or still you are in the same kind of
No. I got it.
okay. See, that's why we didn't discuss it just namesake. We have practically seen the scenario how this static variable differs from instance variables. We have proved the difference. If it is static, we call it directly with class name. If it is instance, we got it by creating an object. Did you see that?
Yeah,
Of course, as a part of this, variable management lifecycle, this object might have access to static variables, but doesn't mean that it is part of object. You get my point?
yeah, got it.
That's it. So next, let's finish this quickly. Static functions. Now we can take a small example. And usually we declare static functions. There are two different uses for static functions. One, static functions are meant to have access to static variables. That is one thing. Second thing, usually static methods are used to implement utility logics. What logics, sir? What logics, sir? Utility logics. Let me make a quick points here. So when you talk about static function, of course you can call it directly with class name, but only thing is you declare it like this. It's like a normal function. On top of that, apply a decorator, and you don't need to create this decorator. It is a built-in decorator. It is already there in Python API. Okay. So why do we need static functions? Two reasons. One, static functions are used to access static members. That is one thing. Second thing, static functions are used to implement utility logic. What do you mean by utility logic? Which is common for the entire application, like a generic logic, like all these mathematical functions, implementing all this max, min, sum, something where the data of this program doesn't dependent on objects. Such functions are called utility logics, utility methods. Okay, so that's where static methods are useful. They are used to implement utility methods. And here, what is it? Usually such methods are used to implement to make or to have a generic logic, which is common for the entire application. It doesn't change from object to object. Logic doesn't change from object to object. Might be values, you can change it. That is a different story. That's what static members are. Program is simple. We don't have something difficult programs here. It is not difficult to write a program. You can see a small example. I have a class or static variables. Okay. And you define a static method. You can have access to static members here. You can see here inside this method, I am able to invoke static variables here. Then just trying to do something. Print it. A small example, like it looks like this. On top of this, you declare one at the rate static method, but make sure you remove this self here. That doesn't make sense. For a static variable, for a static method, sorry, declaring with it with a self is like what is it is like giving Sachin Tendulkar a football. Got my point? Usually static methods don't have self keyword. Okay. Next thing, let us access the static variable. Something like a equal to a plus 1. But you can see here, I'm seeing some error. Why? Unresolved reference variable. Because if it is a static variable or a class variable, maybe within the class or outside the class, we have to call it directly using class name, but not directly using variable name. I should say test.a here. Cannot say just a. Here also, I should say test.a. I cannot just directly say a here in Python. In other languages, it is fine. We can access them directly. Static variable can be accessed directly in a static method, no issues. Do you understand? Do you get my point, guys? So here, suppose if you don't do that, you are not saying that test.a here. And of course, how to call a static variable. And then I'm trying to print it, print of a here. Okay. And then let me run it. You don't need object. I'm calling method directly. You don't need print here because print is there in my static method. You can see here, I have a print here. Just run it. You have an error. It's saying local variable A referenced before assignment. Means it is treating A as local variable. It is not treating this as what? This as a instance or class variables. Then how can I make it as instance? Then I should say test.a equal to test.a. Now the story is perfect. Now run it. A is not different. Of course, here also it is an issue. Everywhere, if you want to use static variables, then we should always call them by class. Can you see now? Do you get this point? That's how this works. So, this is a static method, and I'm trying to call a static variable inside that. You get this? Suppose if it is instance variable, suppose I have an instance variable somewhere in some other method here, something like this. D of some one of self. Okay. Just observe this carefully. Self dot some x equal to 10. Now I want to have access to, if not 10, give it some 20. Okay. I want to have access to this instance variable of this method or of this class, this x. I want to have access to this variable in a static method. Can I call it directly like this? Can I say something like print of? Can I say self here? Is it possible to call self dot x here? Do you think it's possible? Don't even imagine that in your dream. It's not possible in a static method, because static method don't have self keyword. Self is applicable only for instance methods, methods which are part of object, not for the methods which are part of class. This is not possible. Then Madhu might ask me a question, then how come I call this? I want to call this x here, any cost, east or west. I want to call x. What should I do? Is there any way? Anybody suggest me any solution here? If you can suggest me any solution, then I will try that. See, if it is a static variable, I can have access to it directly in the static method, and even here also, even in instance methods also, I can say here, what is that? Print of test dot. I can call it like this. But I want to have access to the instance variable in static method. Can I call it directly? Not possible. Then what are the ways to do that? Is there any way for me? And one thing is clear here. We can call static variable directly in a static method. But if it is instance variable, I don't have direct access. There is no direct access. But the question is, do we have the access to this instance in a what? Do you have access to instance member in a static method or not? That is my question. How many of you say yes? How many of you say no? How many of you say I don't want to comment? Give me an answer.
Yes, yes, it is there.
If it is there, how? That is the question.
You mean that static variable, right? A static variable is
Not
there in
static
static
variable,
method.
instance. I can have, if you see here the code, it has so much of information. There are so much information here in the simple program. In a instance method, we can have access to instance variables and static variables directly. In a static method, we can have access to static variables directly, but it's not possible to have access to instance variables in a static method directly. Then how can I call it? As you say, is it possible means you said yes. How? Not directly, but indirectly, you know the answer. If it is instance member, I told you, I have, I told this repeatedly number of times. If you should call instance members, there is no other choice, only by creating object. So even in case of this static method, if I want to have access to this instance members in static method, the only choice for me is just to create an object for the class test. Inside the static method, possible, sir. We can create objects of same class in methods of that class itself. Then now I can say a dot x. You can see now we are able to see that x on that reference. Now I can try to print it. Print of what? But still it won't work, sir. I'm sorry. Do you think it will work? First, what should I do now? I should call this F1 or not? I should call F1 or not? So what do we do right now? Let's call F1. So a dot call this method first. That will create this variable. Now call this a variable. If not a, print of a dot x. Now run the program. Now what should I do now? Call static method. Run this now. Perfect. Can you see this now? This is in static. So what do you get now? So it is 10. We get 10 here. Then after that, we are printing static, one more time in instance. When I call F1, one more time 10 is printed. 10 are, we are incrementing. See here. For the first time when I call M1, we are saying test.a equal to test.a plus, means it gets incremented to 11. As it's just only one copy, a global copy, any change made by any method, it gets updated in this copy. So now once it is updated here, then it becomes 11 in this variable. So when I call that here, when I print it inside this instance method, even I get 11. You might be wondering where this 11 is coming if we have 10 here. Once the incrementation happens, it is impacted globally. When, as there is only one copy, whatever change happens anywhere, that will be impacted on this variable. So it becomes 11. After that, when you print for second time, 11 is printed. After that, what happens? You call a dot x, the value of this x is printed, you get 20 here. Can you see this now? You got it? So these are all very important observations here. What's that? How a static method behaves, how an instance method behaves. How to access instance members in a instance method, and static, let me more clear. How to access an instance variable in instance method and static variable in instance method. And how do we access instance variable in static method and static variable in static method? Got it, right? Even instance method, if I want to have access to instance method in a static method, if I want to call it, this is called chaining of methods. If I should do that, there is only one possibility. You should create object in a static method. Suppose I want to call M1 in this instance method. Is it possible, sir? Can I call M1, which is a static method, inside F1, which is instance method? Can I call it? Yes or no, sir? Yes, it's possible. How do I call it? I can simply say test dot M1. But anyhow, when I run this code, do you think is going to cause any abnormality here? Do you think, is there any issue here? Just think about the code and tell me, sir. Look at the code and tell me. Is there any issue in the code? Yes, I can call static method from an instance method directly. I don't need any object or anything, just by class name, just test.m1. Let us remove class and see if we can do it. No, it's showing an error. So definitely we need class name. Suppose if it is Java, it's not possible. It's possible there directly. Yes, this leads to infinite loop. We get a stack overflow error. Now if you run it, let's do it. Can you see it now? Maximum recursion depth exceeded while calling a Python object. Why? Because you are calling F1 from M1 and you are calling M1 from F1. When you call F1, when you call F1 from M1, okay, that is fine. This gets executed. And again, F1 is calling M1. Again, it comes here, again call F1. Again, it comes here, it will call M1. This is called infinite recursion. So usually we should not do this like this. Okay. So just for testing, we are doing this, no issues. What I can do? So you can call it no issues, but how? Then if that is the case, you don't no, don't try to call F1 in the same. Okay, then create an object for that and call it directly. Some t equal to test. Okay. Then t dot m1. Sorry, t dot now run it. Did you get something here? 10 and 11. Got it? Okay. We're printing in both cases. What is 10? What is 11? First time when I print test.a, it will print 10 here. After that, I am calling M1, it prints, it gets A gets incremented, that becomes 11. Both the times it is printing the value of A only. Nowhere we are just trying to get X. I didn't print it. Okay, these kind of questions people ask in this test, what do you call it as aptitude kind of test here. Got it right? What is the output of the following code? The scenarios which we have discussed so far, getting into the Stack Overflow, are now this kind of scenario. What is the output of the following code? They will just give this program, and under that they put our outputs, some 4 or 5 outputs, and then they ask you to pick the right output. It's more like if Java people have a good idea that OCJP exam, even that they are there for even Python also. Got it right? You might think so. We are having so much of this. There is a so deeper discussion. You might be thinking, why all this? Do we really necessary all this? Okay, every topic or every use case we touch here definitely has a meaning, has a purpose. There is so much analysis going on in there. Okay, if you are an active participant into that, definitely you see the importance of this somewhere in the coding. Got it right? Anyhow, that's it. You can test it, sir. Now, please test this code.
Yeah, I have one doubt here.
Yeah, fine, no issues, please.
Yeah. So I think what I understand from this, we can access static variable with object as well. But the thing is, when you access with the object, the instance is created for that variable as well. But if you access with the class, but it is only once. So that's what I observed here. Am I correct?
If you access it with class,
If you access static variable, then instance is created. Suppose if you take 3 objects, for
okay,
3 objects, that for each object one instance will be created. If you
correct,
access with that.
correct,
But if you access with the class, only one memory is created, only one copy is created.
correct,
That's what
correct,
we
correct.
are preferring here with the
So
class.
that point, correct. That point we have concluded. If you see here, what is that? It, it is part. Instance variable is part of object, and every object has its own copy of instance variables. Correct? Suppose you see this.
No, I'm talking about the static variable. Even static
Correct.
variable we can access with object.
Correct. That's what
But when you
I have.
access with object, yeah.
See, 1 minute. Let me show you. We have done that conclusion as well. 1 minute. Let me show you. Somewhere I put those points on top of this are here only. You can see somewhere here. Yeah. Can you see here? No. One copy shared by all objects means what? You have just only one copy. One copy of memory is created, and it is shared by all objects. It can be shared. No, it's not like you can see here. It's
No,
very
no, 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 no. Actually, so if you access that variable with object in Python, maybe it is Java, it is correct, as you said, maybe because that static keyword is there. That's what
Mhm.
it belongs to the class, and only
Okay.
one memory is created. We can access with all objects. We can access that variable, and memory
Mhm.
only one copy only created memory. But here,
No.
because that's what because here you declared two methods, right? One instance, one static method, one instance method in this
See,
example.
Madhu,
Uh,
one point let me tell you. One point let me tell you. If it is Python or if it is Java or if it is C sharp or if it is Scala or if it is C++, this is object oriented programming. Leave about the language name here. When some object oriented programming doesn't change from Python to Java, Java to Python, it won't change. You got it right? Huh? The architecture still will be the same. Might be there are few differences here and there. The syntaxes or some other few changes might be different, but the whole of OOP doesn't change. You got it, Madhu?
yeah, yeah.
So in that way, see, maybe if you want to explore more on this also, that's what you know. You know, this is already we have discussed a point here. It's clearly stating here, class or static variables are the variables that belongs to the class and not to the objects. That itself, Python people are also saying the same thing. When the definition is so clear, again, coming to a point like, it's part of object means that is something we have to, what is that? Again, cross check it.
Oh,
When it
here,
is,
no, no, no. I got that. My point is here. If you just we will
see, that's
we
what
will
I'm trying
practice
to tell you.
we will practically we will
Mhm. See, same thing is applicable in Java also or in other languages. One thing, let me show you. I got your point. Others also, please try to understand this. See, you are talking about static variable. Okay.
yeah, static variable. I'm one thing I want to clear here. What I'm trying to say is if you access that static variable with object, then that separate I mean that a separate instance is created for that variable. But if you
Yeah,
access with the class, then only one copy is created. That's what I'm thinking.
that's what, right? Even that is what I told, and we have that discussion is that only, right?
Maybe we are in the same page.
Only
Okay,
one
okay.
copy of the memory is allocated to static variables and it is shared by all objects. Even you are saying the same thing. And we have concluded it, sometime back in our session itself. So same thing, if it is instance variable, we have seen the differences also. Here, if you see here, it is part of object and every object has a copy of instance variable. Its own copy of a, maybe if you want to be more clear, this is what even you are saying the same and we have concluded it. You got it, right? And here, one copy is created and shared by all objects. Means one copy for what? For the whole class, you get only one copy. You got it, right? Okay. You can test this program, guys. Others. So just now, you can test it once, just for clarity purpose. This one, you can try this. So once you are finished, just tell me. So just ping me, confirm me once you are done, guys. Okay. Uh, Now there are few points we can add here. What is that? When you talk about static methods, what is that? We can have direct access of static members in a static method. But for accessing instance members, we should create an object. That is one thing we have discussed. What is that? We can access static members directly in a static method. Okay, suppose if I want to access instance members here, but if we should access instance members in a static method. So what is that we should do here, guys? Any update? Can you tell me? What should we do? So this is what we have discussed clearly. Can we access them directly? Not possible. Then we have to access it in a indirect way. How do we do that? Answer. Give somebody answer that. How do we access it? So is this clear for all of you, or is there any? Is the concept clear or not? If not, we can discuss one more time. Did you get it? How do we can access static members directly? But how do we access instance members in a static method? What we have to do for that? Okay, somebody saying with class name. No, not that. If I should access instance members in a static method, create some object in the static method. What about others? Deepak or Madhu or Srikanth, how can we access to that? So others don't have an idea about this. See, I'm asking you guys only. See, if you don't want to answer, then we'll stop the session here. I don't have a problem. So how do we access here? Srikanth, how do we access this? Are you there? Srikanth, how do we access an instance member in a static method? How do we do that? So usually the process is simple. One thing is, if we should access instance members in a static method by creating object. How do we do that? By creating object. That's what the discussion is all about so far. Can you see here now? We have created and we try to access it by having object of that class, and then we have access to the instance members. Can you see this now? Here, if you see this code, I commented it. That is how we can have access to instance members in a static method. Okay, we cannot have direct access to instance members in a static. Suppose if we are another important, we can access what instance members. Also, what is that? And static members directly in a directly in sense, of course, how they has to be called with class name. That is there. Directly in sense, not like with variable name or method name. If it is static member, always we should call it with class name dot. That's it. But if it is instance members, we should call it with the object. That is how we call instance or static members. So we can access instance and static members. How do we access it? Instance and static members. Directly what? In an instance method. That's how it happens. Okay. Understood now? Right. No problem, but we can discuss offline. So might be somewhere you stuck with something. I understood. I got it. But actually, whatever you are thinking, that is discussed. We have concluded it. But somewhere there is a looping happening in your mind. I got that point. But we can discuss offline. So you got it right. We can access instance and static members directly in an instance methods. Instance again, I'm making this point clear. What is it? The point is instance way means through object. Static way means through class name. That is what I mean. Direct instance, not just with variable or not just with method. Again, keep it in mind. Okay, right. You got this, or is this clear, or are you having any gap on this? Tell me. We can discuss one more time. It's not like we need to go to the next topic. You got it? Son. No problem. See, If you are not responding, there is no point of me talking. No, you have to. If you don't get it, if you think there is any gap, we can discuss one more time. No issues. It's not like it's a burden to me. At the end of the day, if you are not able to get it clearly, and concluding that is not my way of teaching. Got it? Gentlemen, we got it. Somebody talk here. Huh? Otherwise, others. What about others? What about you, Deepak? Is it clear to you? What about you, Harish? Okay, let me talk. Harish, are you guys there in the class or just away? Out of coverage area, all of you. In front of machine or
Hi Manohar, sir.
huh?
Yeah, it's clear, sir. Yeah, I joined very late actually. So, but I listened from static method. I understood. I'm clear.
Okay. Because if you don't talk to me, it's difficult because the session is for you only. If you are not interactive, at least to the questions, is it clear or not? Okay, I asked a question. Most of you are just keeping quiet. But if I am giving you marks, or if you are writing any semester exam, then you should not answer. But there is nothing here. This is just discussion. Got it right? If you say that it's clear, okay, it's fine. If not, we can discuss one more time. We don't have an issue. Also, we don't have any girls here. That is also an advantage for us. Got my point? If any girl is there, then it is little difficult. But I don't mean they harm us. They are bad. Okay, we might have some issue. Like they might think bad about this. But fortunately, we don't have girls here. You get my point? What Satish? What do you say? And Srikanth, where are you, man? I'm shouting your name. I'm not hearing from you. Where are you?
Sir, I got a call from office, so that's it.
Okay, you are also out of. That's what I thought. Many people, they will be doing cooking by joining the session. I thought, huh? First
No,
you.
no, no. I was in call.
No, I'm not about to others. I am saying, married people. You are a bachelor, right? For them, they have to cook in house also. That is important.
And anyhow, I was in home, right? They will cook for me.
Yeah, fine. I'm just kidding. Okay. Is this concept clear for all of you? Veera Prasad, huh? Veera Prasad, are you clear?
Yes, clear, sir. Sir,
See, I am struggling to get answers from you. Huh? Fighting here, like Okay, fine. So that's about all this. Tomorrow we continue with this one. So the conclusion here is again, Madhus. See, for the entire class we have one copy for static member. But if it is instance member, we have a separate copy for every object. I have proved all this actually. Second thing is, see, you might have access to objects to static variables. That is a different story, but still it will be only one copy. It won't be multiple copies. Should I prove it, Madhu? Do you want me to prove that as well? Madhu, that it will have only one copy. To prove that also, we can do that. We'll do one thing. Just take static method and not sorry, static variable and instance method. No need of all this. Mm, let's increment this test equal to test dot. That print it here directly. Okay. Now we create some 3 or 4 objects. Okay. Now in this first you say t1 dot f. Let us get a clear. T2 dot F1 and T3 dot F1. After calling these methods, now you print these values. Print of T1 dot A. Okay. Print of T2 dot A. T3 dot A. You got it right. This is one use case. Usually one of the most popular use case for this test. This for certification tests. Now this is the program. Maybe let me see how many of you is going to answer. Okay. Are you little okay? Fine. Or now if you see, you tell me when you have three objects, nothing happens when you create object. They are empty. Then the values are added only when you create call methods. But these are static methods. If it is instance method, three objects inside every object you have one variable. But this is static method, only one copy now. Now you tell me what is the output you get here, what is the output you get here, what is the output here. This will definitely give you a clear idea. That's my, I know, that's my gut feeling. Come on, guys. What is your answer? For A, T1 dot A, T2 dot A, T3 dot A. What is your answers? 10, 10, 10. Somebody is saying 10, 10, 10. Okay, fine, Vinod. That's good. At least I got response from 10, 10, 10. That's good. So I think most of Telugu and Kannada. Kannada I am not familiar. మీరు కొద్దిగా రెస్పాండ్ అయితే కొద్దిగా నేను కూడా నాకు కొంచెం ఎనర్జీ వస్తుంది. మీరు కామ్గా ఉన్నారు అనుకో, ఓన్ ఎనర్జీ వెళ్ళిపోతుంది. You get my point, Deepak? If you are giving some answers, I will have little energy. Otherwise, my energy will be gone.
Sure, sir.
Got it? Because it will be happy for me seeing that you are, learning. Okay, that's most of us are giving answers. That's a good thing. And everybody is saying, of course, I'm sorry. I should make. See, as per this, the answer is compilation error. You got it right? If we use the same code, let us just see here. You should get a compilation error. If you look at this code, now I have seen it. See, this is how people ask questions in interviews, and most of you have given 10, 10, 10. But when you go and check the output, can you see here? I didn't run the program at all. By looking at it, I just realized it is compilation error. Can you see here now? Unexpected indent. Got it? Of course, indentation, okay, I can fix it, no issues, because that is one reason. Let me run it now. Now you see, name A is not defined. That is what you have to give me first. Okay, fine. Assume that you get output. Here I should say test.t. You missed it. See, this is what I am expecting. Your activeness and attentiveness. Got it right? So here you can see this. Now the answer is you are saying 10, 10, 10. Of course, at least you got some analysis that 10, 10, 10 make a bit of sense. But you are okay. Yes, your answer is perfect. Why? Because I am thinking I incremented, but all of you are perfect. Srini, Deepak, and all of you, wonderful. That's perfect. Because as per this code, you get 10 only. Why? Because I didn't say +1. I am thinking I had said done +1, but fortunately, what is it? Fortunately, what? Unfortunately, sorry, I missed one. No problem. You gave me answer as per that only. That is what we need to understand. You can see a 10, 10, 10 only here. Correct? Madhu, Madhu, see it. Means what? Is it only one copy or separate copy for every object? This is a proof. Suppose you make it as instance. So you do incrementation here, +1. Now you tell me the answers. Now you tell me, if I do +1 here, what do I get now? If it is a static member, static variable, what do I get? Now you tell me answer. Then we will convert it to instance and see the difference. That will perfectly give you a clarity. Yeah. Incremented by what you get now. Yes, with +1. For this program, what output we get? Come on, guys. Srikanth, everyone. See, from past 2 hours, I am talking. Still, I am having so much of energy. Satish said he joined late anyhow. Others are fine, right? Okay. Okay. Now, what is the answer? Harish, I think, and Srini, and the other one. See, can you please cross check your answers? See, this is only one copy of variable shared by objects. Earlier we got 10, 10, 10 because we didn't increment. We are using just we are initializing that A to A only. But I am incrementing now. Then the answer is, let me talk about the concept first, so that you get some idea. Let me give you clarity that one copy concept will get clarity for you. Where is this? See here now. See, this is your A. How many copies will be there for the entire class if it is a static variable? How many copies, sir? Sir, how many copies will be there? అడవిలో అరణ్య రోదన అయిపోయింది ఇక్కడ. Yeah, one copy. Okay, I have 3 objects now. That's why we should charge, sir. We should not take free classes. If you pay money, then you will answer. If you don't pay, then I should shout. What do you say? I'm just kidding. See here, sir, we have 3 objects now. This is a global copy, sir, not part of object. See, it's not part of object. See here. And we are calling this method. What is that method? F1. 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 Okay. Now, when I call F1 on this object, which object? T1. This is interesting analysis. I should have done this. I thought that's why Madhu got confused. I took this in the beginning itself. You don't have such issues there. T3. Okay. Now, when I call F1 on T1, what happens? This gets modified. This is only one copy. Now, this 10 becomes how much, sir? 10 becomes 11. Vinod had given right answer. Vinod, that's really excellent, man. Now, when I call F1 on T2, again, same way, you have only one copy. See, it's like a hundi. You put 1 rupee, I put 1 rupee, or somebody put 1 rupee. That 1 rupee will be there in hundi only. Then you tell me, initially I have 1 rupee, after that 2 rupees, after that 2 rupees. It keeps on going. It won't be 1 rupee all the time. Why? Because only one hundi. If I have separate one hundi with me, one hundi with Madhu, one hundi with Harish, then if you put a rupee, in all the hundis you have only 1 rupee, 1 rupee. Why? Separate hundi for everyone. That is instance. But if it is a global hundi, I put 1 rupee there, Madhu put 1 rupee there, Srikanth put 1 rupee there, it becomes 3 rupees. For the first time it is 1 rupee, second time 2 rupees, third time 3 rupees. it won't be 1 rupee there. You get my point? So now here again 11. First time 11. Second time when you call F1, it becomes 12. Third time when you call, what is that? It becomes a 13. What do you say, guys? So answer is, maybe if you wish, if you think that I am what is that, misleading you people, let us run this. Can you see the output here, sir? 11, 12, 13. You know why you got again 13, 13, 13 at the end? Because you are printing A here for 3 times, but when you are calling it in the methods, can you see here now? At the end it will have what? That last incremented value is 13. Again I am printing that A, then it will print that same last incremented one, because that is what it is there in the end. That is getting printed here. And you see, in all the 3 objects, when I call all the 3 objects, I am getting 13, 13, 13 only. I didn't get 13, 14, 15 like that, or 11, 12, 13. If it is separate for every object, I should see 11, 12 and 13, 11, 11, 11 only. Sorry, 11, 12 or 13. Got it, right? The value is same here. Do you understand my point? So this is simple idea about what. So you can remove it. You can remove this. We'll see later. Better you do one thing. Remove that there. Now this is fine. There is one copy. It is shared by all objects. So when I call this F1 on T1, it is 11. When I call F1 on T2, then it is 12. When I call F1 on T3, then it is 13. Suppose take this as instance. Leave this A here. Take some X. What is that? Self dot X equal to. Now you get a clarity. See the difference now. That itself gives you a clarity here. Okay, and then self dot X equal to self dot X plus 1. Print of self dot X. Now you tell me what would be the output this time. Earlier it is 11, 12, 13. You tell me now, this gives you a perfect idea for you. Perfect idea between instance variables and set. Come on, sir, all of you be little active. I'm not angry. I'm just making you. Got it? What's your answers now? Come on, guys. Is it same 11, 12, 13 or is it something else? Madhu or Sri? Then you see the difference here. The perfect difference you are going to see now. That gives you a clarity between instance members and static members. Suppose if it is static now, answer will be what? Most of you have given right answer this time. Okay, it's 11, 11, 11, 11 here. Why 11, 11, 11? This time variable doesn't exist outside object. You have A here, you have A here, you have A here. Okay, and 10 is inside object here, and 10 is inside object here, and 10 is inside object here, because it is instance variable. It is not static variable. Now you don't have this outside, sir. You have this variable inside every object. Now you are calling F1 on A. It will increment the value of F1, sir, a value of T1, not some T2. What happens to this now? So here this becomes, when I call F1, this becomes 11. Then that change is only specific to that object. When I call F1 on T2, this becomes 11. When I call F1 on T3, this becomes 11. You see the difference now between the previous use case then this use case. And all of you have given correct answers. That is wonderful. What do you say, sir? Now it is separate for every object here. Change on one object doesn't have effect on one object. And this proves a point. Suppose if it is static, even though I called on object, you see, just one copy is there and it is shared by objects. T1 had updated it, T2 had updated the same, T3 had updated the same. But if it is instance, it is a story different. Now you run this, no? Run this. That error we can fix it, not an issue. So what it is saying, test object don't have no attribute what, self dot x. Okay, we can have static there, no issues with that. F1, am I printing it anywhere? Okay, I'm sorry. First of all, we should set some value to this, right? Incrementation we can do it, sir. Where is the value? Did I give any value to that? How possible? So set some value to that. No. Imagine again compilation error. Okay. Of course, no issues. Can you see this output now? Got difference now? I think you should, your understanding should improve now compared to the previous discussion. What do you say, sir? Yes, no, nothing like that. We are still same. Got it? So this is a difference here. Got correct now? Madhu, is there any, did I add anything to your, did I give any something to your confusion, or still that is there?
Yeah, it's fine.
Do you have any logical conclusion, or still that that deeper intuitive thought process is going on?
No, no. So, but can you, so here you showed me, right? So it is keep on increasing. So when you call that
Yeah.
object. Yeah.
Ah.
So can you do with, previously you have incremented by the class. Can you increment it by object? By defining a static method?
Okay, you want
The
This
increment
conference will now be recorded.
that static variable by.
okay, let us just do it now.
Now increment it by object, the static variable, not with class.
Okay, so this is what you are asking, right?
No, 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 not test. Just increment with by object.
Okay, you want me, okay, you want to
T1,
create,
T1, T1 already incremented here, right? T1 object is there, right?
okay,
Can you increment that static variable by object, one of the object? You have created 3 objects with any of
okay.
one object.
See, point is, I didn't get the
T1
question.
dot, no,
T1,
here, bro. T1 dot A equal to T1 dot A plus 1. It will work.
okay. So you are asking me to take in that way. Okay,
They're in static method itself. Yes, yes.
correct. I got it. Asking me here in the method or outside method?
No, 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 in method itself, in static method itself.
See, if for that, first thing you should create an object. Okay, let us go for object. We cannot have direct
No, no,
access to.
already created, bro. Outside created. It works perfectly.
See,
As you already created T1 is equal to test.
correct. I got
So
it.
you can use the top. Yeah.
Then I should use self here.
No, no, not required.
Tell me then.
Directly you
You
can
tell
use.
me. Yeah, tell me how to
T1
use it.
T1 dot A
Okay.
equal to same
Okay.
way. T1 dot A plus 1.
Okay. Fine.
Self, you can please remove that self. Not required because it's not an instance.
Okay.
Instance.
Fine. So this is applicable only for which object?
For that particular object only.
Correct. Then we have to apply for all the 3 different objects to see the results, right?
Yep,
Even here.
yep. Please create another method with F2.
Okay. Okay. You want it?
Now here, please here please increment with by 2. T2 dot A, T2 dot A plus 2.
Okay. Okay. You want
Plus
one
2.
more?
This time plus 2. This time plus 2.
No issues. See, the object is different. When the object is totally
Okay,
different,
it will be more clear. That's what I'm asking. Okay. It's fine.
fine.
Now
No,
please print it. Please print it. Please try to print it.
I got it.
No. Here
One,
T1 dot A, not T2 dot A. T2 dot A.
T3. Don't you want T3 as well?
No. 2 objects will be fine.
2 are enough, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, fine, no issues. So fine, I'm calling here T1 dot F1, T2 dot F1. Okay, F2, right? Not F1 else. So
I think self you need to remove it because it's a static method.
correct. We'll take it out. Probably we might get an error also. If that is the case. Or by default, it will take it as instance method. What method? That modifier doesn't have impact. There might be two
Please print
cases.
here T2 dot A in T2 method, T2 dot A, F2 method.
Got it. So this is
Now,
your.
if I am not wrong, it will be like 11 and it will be like 12.
Correct. See, we'll see. Anyhow, first time 11. Okay, fine. Again, you are
Second
increment.
time it is not 13, it's a 12.
Okay, we'll see it. So, what is it doing here? So 11, correct. In the first case, we are getting what is that? T1 dot A plus 1. Okay, this is second case. Correct only, right? See, again, you started with 10.
That's what I initially somewhat I had some doubt. So if you increment with object, then so that continuation will not be happen. It's not a single copy. If you increment with class, then single copy. Previously we had seen it. If we have incremented with the class.
That is agreed. Taking two separate copies for these two objects as well, even though it is class variable.
Yeah.
Then in the first case, it is giving us 11, as we are doing it.
And second case, it will be 13 if you do with the class. But we are not doing here with the class, but we are doing with object. That is what it will treat as a different. I mean, two memory copies will be created.
The scope is getting different here. Yeah. I understand. But still, I think I'm sensing some. Okay, do it like this. Suppose you take F1 here, Madhu, not F2. You cannot really have redeclaration, right? But in the previous case, what we are doing it with single method. Do you agree?
In single method, but that's what, bro. If you
No.
that's what I am believing it as per you told me right initially. So
Okay.
with initial statements, what I thought that if you access with the class, it will be a single copy only. But if you
Correct, correct.
access with the object, it will create different. That's what always recommended, to access with the class, so that only one copy is created. Then memory management will be effective, so somewhat effective in manner.
Correct, correct. That's what even I am observing. Yeah, Madhu. Mm, suppose let us take the same example of which one?
Maybe it's my analysis. Maybe maybe some we have to do more delve on it.
No problem. 1 minute. Anyhow, others, if you is also learning for you, you can please be patient. So usually, if it is a static member, one thing, let us make this discussion. If it is a static member, you got it, Madhu?
Yeah.
Point one. Let me conclude few things here about static members. Of course, you are trying to get it in instance way. I definitely agree with what you are trying to do here. That is a really wonderful thing. But one thing is, if it is a static member, it is always recommended to call in a static way. Which way?
Static.
Static way. And calling
Yeah,
static member.
it is always recommended with the static only, because then only the memory will be effectively, we can utilize that memory effectively.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. So we have done a workaround here. Definitely, you have done and you tried in the other way. That is a deeper understanding. Fine. But here is, suppose, let me try this here also in this under this. Let me do the same. Let us just try to do in a different way here also. There is another method. Let us apply this use case so that do we get different results, the same results. That gives us an idea for us. Okay, Madhu,
Yeah.
what do you say?
Yeah.
Suppose the same case I am trying to apply here. Let us do it like this.
And it
Is
will
this what you have
be
done?
11 and 13.
Yeah, let's try to understand now. So in this case, it becomes 11, correct?
Yes.
After adding 2, it should become 13.
13, correct.
So let us try to run that. If it is, because earlier we are trying with single method and seeing the behavior. You took two different methods and we are trying to understand the behavior. So correct. So it's giving 11, 13. This is a global copy now. But as you say, I think there is a small conclusion again. One more time, one more thing. See, this is going deeper and deeper. I know, but when you go for object-based incrementation, what is that? When you are trying to get p1.a, and then you can have direct access to the variable that object here. You can see it because it's part of it. Be a global declaration. If it is outside class, we can have access them directly anywhere. That should be the reason. If you ask me how come it's possible, it is a global declaration. When you declare outside class, it becomes global. Got it right? If you declare inside class, it might be a local or it might be a class variable, or it might be instance. It might, that depends. Okay, now here also just concluding. Okay, t2.a, t2.a, t2.a. Then if that is the case, okay, let it be like this. Now we are running it. Earlier our output is 1113. Let us run this now. Just see the difference. 1112, correct. So what's happening is if you making it to work through object, it is working in instance way, correct? Already we have a clear idea. It is working in instance way. If you're working through class, it's working in static way. Static means usually one copy will be there. Instance means multiple copies. Also, another conclusion. What is that? Suppose if you are declaring instance members and trying that, we have seen that one more use case, one with static member, other with the instance members. Anyhow, instance members behavior is the same. Here, the way how you work here with this one, this use case, or the other use case, it might be the same. You got the point, right? But finally, the conclusion is yes. When you try to do it with the which one through instance way, this is instance way. It means when you are trying t1.a and t1.a plus 1 like this, it is converting into a instance scope. What scope? Instance scope. From a static scope, it got converted to the scope difference had come. Like suddenly a middle class man got some million rupees, he becomes a millionaire. Like that, what happened? There is a conversion happening. That's what I am seeing here. The scope got changed here completely. And then it is acting as an instance variable when you are exclusively trying to access through reference here. What is that? The behavior of static completely modified here. That is what I am observing. Even you also observe the same because observation is same for you or me. Got it right? Right. So that's it. Okay, Madhu. Thank you, Madhu. So initially I didn't understand it. I was thinking your point. You are saying with class it's one copy, with object it's multiple copies. Object in multiple copies in sense I am not thinking from this static perspective, but I am thinking from instance perspective. But the conclusion is even static get converted to instance scope when you try to directly invoke through object like this. You got the point finally? Right. So maybe you can just make a note of it. Usually these examples you don't find in the internet in most of the cases. Clear? Static variable getting converted to its scope. Instance scope. That's it, guys. Take it. Others, do you get what Madhu bring in here? He brought something, an interesting point, but the conclusion is this is something what is that? One of the wonderful use case. But the point is, if it is a static member, we should always access it in a static way. What way? Static way, not in instance way. That is also important thing. Okay. Notice a static member is always accessed in is recommended. It is recommended, not like always accessed. It is recommended. Recommended means it is highly necessity to follow, but still you can violate it. Recommended to access a static member in a static way. Fine. So is this far? Shall we stop here today? Okay, thanks for all of you. Thanks for Madhu for bringing in some very new and something different use case. Okay, guys, all of you. No, you should thank Madhu for this use case. I don't have any credit in this. Okay, I cannot claim any credit in this use case. Okay, it's Madhu's. That his what do you call introspection, or he's exploring things. He had explored it. He thought in that way. The complete credit goes to him only. Okay. Thank you, guys.